Friends don't let friends run their own email servers, but a lot of masochists like to run their own email servers, and many people that want to run their own email servers don't have friends, so they can't tell you not to run their own email server. But I will tell you the trials, the tribulations of running an email server myself for about a decade, and why I eventually moved away from it, and what I moved to. So the number one reason a lot of people want to run their own email server is, well, maybe you wake up one day and you decide, screw Google. I'm going to de-Google myself, as I say this, as this is posted to a YouTube video, but I digress. And you decide, I'm going to de-Google myself, because maybe a lot of you are using Google Gmail, which originally was developed, I think, in 2007, 2008 on an April Fool's Day, and originally people thought it was an April Fool's joke. I remember when Gmail came out, and it was literally like you had the idea of never running out of space, never having to delete an email, because back in the day, your email provider was your ISP, and they would give you 100 megabytes, and a big reason people wouldn't switch ISPs is because you'd lose your email server provider and all that stuff. But anyway, the trials and tribulations of running your own email server are vast. So the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a static IP address. That is first and foremost what you're going to need. And you're going to need port 25 open. Now, of course, you can't run this on a, residential internet service provider because they block that. You can get it through a business class internet, which then means you're going to already be spending more out the gate. And you're going to get a static IP address. You're going to have to make sure that static IP address is clean. Now, a lot of you don't want to go out and get a business class internet, rightfully so, because they're kind of expensive. You don't get a lot of features for what you get. You do get a little bit better SLA and guarantee around the uptime of things, but that's about it for it, most of the cases. The reality is you're going to probably end up running this in a cloud server provider. Like I used to run it in DigitalOcean back in the day. Or you can use Linode or, AWS, things like that. But a lot of those server providers now are starting to block port 25 because a lot of people are sending spam and malicious emails through their own email servers being run. And there's many ways to run this, postfix, dovecot, things like that. But the way that I generally ran my own email server and recommend a lot of people to try out if you want to go through the masochistic line of setting up your own email server is going to Mailinabox.email. Mailinabox.email is a really great product. It's developed by Josh Data. We actually talk to each other on Mastodon once in a while. Really nice guy. I have to thank him a lot because if it wasn't for this project, I wouldn't learn so much about cybersecurity aspects of email and how to secure an email server. You will have to set up a few records inside of your domain name. Yes, you're going to have to buy a domain name, of course, if you want to have your fancy email. And you're going to point that domain name to your, static IP address, but you're also going to have to set up DMARC and SPF at minimum, and ideally DKIM. SPF is Sender Policy Framework, and you're going to need domain-based message authentication, reporting, and conformance, DMARC. You're additionally going to probably want to set up DKIM, Domain Keys Identified Mail. Now, all these things help protect you and make sure that your email that is sent from your server is legitimate. We're not going to get too much into, what the different things actually do there. Just know that you're going to need them. One day we'll probably talk about what those things are because they're important to know in the overall email security, especially if you're going further down into the cybersecurity rabbit hole, because everyday cybersecurity engineers do need to know what these things are, because there's things like SPF policy you may have to tweak once in a while for how things are going to be handled. And you got to make sure your DMARC records are on point, because if they're not, then you have issues with your email deliverability and all those other things. But anyway, you need a clean IP. So what you're going to probably end up doing is go to Spamhaus, SPAMHUAUS, and you're going to be checking your IP address. There's other services and all that, but Spamhaus was the big boy. It's been a few years since I've checked this, but this is what I used to use to check against it. And Mailinabox will be able to check that for you. If your email address is not, if your IP address is not clean, that's going to be no bueno. The other thing that you're going to have to be aware of is you're going to have to warm that IP up. Because when you first set up a domain name and you start using an IP address associated with it, a lot of email security products will look at it sideways and be like, you're brand new. This can take at least 30 days. And on average, a lot of businesses want to see like 90 days of, good reputation. And that's another thing is you have to build the reputation with your email provider, which is going to take a while. And not only that, once you get your email server up, whether you're using Mailinabox or you're using Motoboa or iRedMail or many of the different, email providers out there, or you're just doing your own postfix or whatever out there, you're going to have to probably deal with whitelisting with the email providers. I remember one time I even had to deal with AOL. Yes, AOL to receive my emails from my private email server. It was a pain. Like I said, welcome to the masochistic art of self-hosting your email server. Years ago, it used to be an amazing thing. Everyone used to want to run their own email server. Everyone could run their email server. Then everyone could run their email server and then started spamming everybody. But the fun thing is you could actually go through and see all the emails that end up getting filtered, like the time I learned about the Nigerian astronaut who was trapped in space. Real thing, go look it up on Snopes. It's a fun story. Apparently the Nigerian prince scheme kind of just ran out and he became an astronaut. I wonder if they're related. Anyway, with that being said, you can set up this box and then follow the instructions for Mailinabox to set up your own email server, but there's no guarantee that this will actually work. And I ended up having to do a mail relay. I used Mailgun. There's a few other ones out there, like SendGrid and things like that. I ended up having to learn how to hack that into my Mailinabox so I could get email to reliably be delivered. But then I had the issues that also happened where my DigitalOcean inbox at the time happened to be in a block of bad actors. And those bad actors happened to be sending spam, which meant my good, precious little email server got guilty by association. So DigitalOcean had to do a little cleanup years ago and deal with that. I remember my email was not being delivered for several weeks because of that reason. Then I had to go get, a relay through Mailgun to be able to reliably send my email. The problem with the mail relay is technically they go and read all of your email and rebroadcast it for you because email is not a very secure protocol, just to be clear here. It did guarantee reliability. It then fixed a lot of the issues with email deliverability, but then I had the issue with dealing with, once in a while, the Mailgun plan I was on happened to be having the same issue, where I was guilty by association with bad actors that were also using Mailgun on the free plan to be able to send email. Mailgun, to their credit, really great customer service. And they did actually put me in my own private block at a period of time. But I kept dealing with issues that, no joke, it was at least once a month I was dealing with some issue having to maintain my own email server, and sometimes these issues meant my server went down for a day or two. There were a couple of times I had to completely reinstall the server, not to mention the times that I had to upgrade from Ubuntu 14.04 to 18.04, I believe it was, or whatever, 12.04 to 16. It was a major jump. I had to back up the data to my local machine, rebuild the box with a way to preserve the IP in DigitalOcean, because that IP is precious. Once you get a clean IP, you want to keep that. It is like gold. And luckily, Mailinabox had a great amount of documentation for this. Eventually, I threw in the towel after doing this for a decade because it became harder and harder and harder to run my own email server. It became too hard, giggity. Anyway, eventually I just threw in the towel. And that is why I recommend everyone, if you want to do a private email server, it's not really worth it. The honest truth is you should probably look at services like Proton Mail, which I am affiliated with, and I switched to long before I was even a creator that was making a lot of content and everything, because they genuinely have a good product. And for those of you like, I don't trust Proton Mail because, they helped people get caught. Well, they didn't really do that. I'll go into those issues. Basically what happened was they set a recovery method that tied to their phone number or another email address, which then was disclosed to Twitter or another account that they then could catch through law enforcement and stuff like that. you don't need to put the recovery method in. But to be fair, you probably shouldn't be doing stupid things in the first place, and then you wouldn't have that problem. And if you're running your own email server and law enforcement is coming at you with warrants to get access to your own email server, they probably know it's you by now. They know you're doing things. Email is not the most secure method. But if you want a private and secure email server, yes, you can build it yourself. Be a masochist. Check out Mailinabox and other projects like that. But you can learn a lot along the way. I will always be thankful to Josh Data and the Mailinabox project because of them, I learned so much about DMARC, SPF, and DKIM that I still use on the day in and every day is in my cybersecurity engineering role. And I will continue to use and understand while I'm even setting up security relays and gateways for Proofpoint, Mimecast, Avanon, and other email security features that I implement in Microsoft Office 365, Google G Suites, and other things like that. But I will tell you, if you want to have a nice, secure private email service, go to Proton Mail. Go to proton.me. I'll put some links down below. I am affiliated with them, but that's because they make a really, really great product, and I completely believe in their service and everything like that. I'm not, you can go buy it without me if you want, and, I don't care if I get the affiliation dollars or not, but if you want to support me, please go buy the product through them. They have a great suite, Proton Mail, Proton VPN, Proton Password Manager in there. They have a document collaboration platform, all based in Switzerland, and they're not shareholder owned. They have no incentive to really, go out and sell your data to make sure line go up in terms of profit sharing reports. They have a real solid company and philosophy that I completely agree with. So go check them out if you just want to have a nice private secure email system. And if you really want to put some tinfoil hat on and maybe put some leather on and whip yourself, go consider making your own email server with Mailinabox and be a masochist. But friends, don't let friends run their own email servers. But you will learn a lot along the way. I will not deny that. Happy hacking, my friends.